The moment Kash Patel walked through the imposing doors of the J. Edgar Hoover building as the newly appointed FBI director, he knew every eye inside was watching, not with admiration, not with hope, but with suspicion, skepticism, and, in some quarters, outright hostility. This wasn't just another political appointment. This was a declaration of war on everything the FBI had become. January 2025. The air in Washington was thick with tension, conspiracy theories, and the lingering smoke of a presidential campaign that had torn the nation in two. Donald Trump had won his return to the White House, and among his most controversial decisions was the appointment of Kash Patel to lead the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The mainstream media exploded. Former intelligence officials called it dangerous. Career FBI agents leaked their concerns to reporters. Democratic lawmakers promised investigations into the investigation agency itself. But Patel? He simply smiled that knowing smile, the one that had unnerved opponents in congressional hearings for years, and got to work. The outsider who knew too much. Kash Patel wasn't supposed to be here. Born to Indian immigrant parents in New York, he grew up far from the corridors of power. His journey to the FBI's top spot was anything but conventional. Unlike his predecessors who rose through the Bureau's ranks, Patel came from outside, a lawyer and former federal prosecutor who had spent years in the trenches of national security law. His real education in Washington's darkest corners came during his time as a senior staffer on the House Intelligence Committee. There, investigating the origins of the Russia investigation, Patel had gone where few dared to tread. He challenged the intelligence community's narratives. He questioned the FBI's methods. He compiled the now infamous Patel memo that accused the Bureau of surveillance abuses during the 2016 election. To Trump's supporters, Patel was a truth-teller who had exposed the deep state. To his critics, he was a partisan operative willing to weaponize intelligence for political purposes. The truth, as always, was more complex. Patel had seen how power worked in Washington, how institutions could be manipulated, how the line between national security and political warfare had blurred beyond recognition. Now he wasn't just observing that system, he was running it. The first 100 days, shock and reconstruction. Patel's first morning as FBI director began at 5:47 a.m. He arrived before most of the staff, walking past the rows of photographs depicting FBI history, the heroes and the scandals, the triumphs and the failures. By 7 a.m., he had called his first all-hands meeting. Over 35,000 FBI employees, from field agents in Montana to intelligence analysts in Quantico, received the same message simultaneously. The FBI has lost the trust of half of America, Patel began, his voice steady and unapologetic. Maybe more than half, and if we're honest with ourselves, we know why. The room, both physical and virtual, went silent. Directors didn't talk like this. They praised the Bureau, defended its independence, spoke in careful bureaucratic language designed to offend no one. But Patel wasn't interested in playing that game. We've been politicized, not by outside forces, but by our own decisions, our own arrogance, our own belief that we knew better than the American people we serve. That ends today. Within his first week, Patel made moves that sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. He reassigned 7 senior executives, all of whom had been involved in controversial investigations during the previous administration. He ordered a top-to-bottom review of ongoing counterintelligence operations. He established a new Office of Institutional Integrity, tasked with investigating allegations of bias and misconduct within the Bureau itself. Critics screamed that Patel was conducting a purge. His defenders argued he was simply cleaning house. But what few understood was the careful calculation behind every move. Patel wasn't just removing people. He was rebuilding trust, one painful decision at a time. The Epstein files, a test of will. 3 weeks into his tenure, Patel faced his first major crisis: the Epstein files. Those two words had become a cultural obsession, a Rorschach test for everyone's darkest suspicions about power, corruption, and cover-ups. The FBI had thousands of pages of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking operation, documents that allegedly contained names of powerful individuals who had visited his properties or traveled on his aircraft. The House Judiciary Committee wanted those files. The public demanded transparency, and Kash Patel stood in the middle, holding secrets that could destroy reputations, end careers, and possibly destabilize global political relationships. On a cold February morning, Patel appeared before Congress. The hearing room was packed beyond capacity. Cameras from every major network pointed at the witness table. Representative Jim Jordan, chair of the Judiciary Committee, leaned into his microphone. "Director Patel, the American people have a right to know who was involved with Jeffrey Epstein. Why is the FBI still hiding these names?" Patel didn't flinch. "Congressman, I understand the frustration, but the FBI doesn't hide information to protect the powerful. We protect ongoing investigations, we protect methods and sources, and yes, we protect the innocent until proven guilty." "Are you saying powerful people in those files are innocent?" "I'm saying that being in an address book or on a flight manifest doesn't make someone a criminal. The FBI's job isn't to release raw intelligence for public consumption. It's to investigate crimes and present evidence that can stand up in court." The exchange went viral within minutes. Patel's critics accused him of protecting elites. His supporters praised his commitment to due process. But behind closed doors, Patel was doing something far more strategic. He had established a special task force to review every single Epstein-related document, not to bury evidence, but to separate genuine criminal leads from mere associations. "If there's prosecutable evidence, we prosecute," Patel told his senior staff in a classified briefing. "If there's not, we don't destroy people's lives based on guilt by association. That's not justice. That's mob rule." The deep state myth and the institutional reality. One of Patel's most difficult challenges was navigating the narrative war around the FBI itself. Trump and his allies had spent years attacking the deep state, a shadowy network of unelected bureaucrats supposedly working to undermine conservative leadership. Patel knew this narrative intimately. He had, in some ways, helped create it during his time investigating FBI conduct. But now, as director, he confronted a more nuanced reality. Yes, there were career employees who disagreed with Trump's policies. Yes, there had been instances of bias and poor judgment during previous investigations. But the vast majority of FBI agents were simply trying to do their jobs: stop terrorists, catch criminals, protect national security. Patel's genius was in threading this impossible needle. Publicly, he acknowledged past failures and promised accountability. He spoke at conservative conferences, reassuring Trump's base that the FBI wouldn't be weaponized against political opponents. He appeared on podcasts and alternative media, breaking the Bureau's traditional isolation from popular culture. But internally, he protected the institution. When Trump allies demanded investigations into specific political enemies, Patel established a firewall. Every case had to meet rigorous predicate standards. Every investigation had to be reviewed by a panel of career prosecutors. Political pressure from any direction would not determine FBI priorities. This dual approach enraged everyone. The left accused Patel of being Trump's puppet. The right accused him of protecting the deep state. Career FBI employees didn't trust him. Trump loyalists didn't trust him. And yet somehow Patel kept moving forward. "My job isn't to make everyone happy," he told a close advisor. "My job is to rebuild an institution that can outlast any single administration, any single crisis, any single political movement." The art of saying no. Perhaps Patel's most remarkable skill was his ability to resist pressure without creating enemies. In congressional hearings, he mastered the art of answering questions without revealing classified information. When asked about ongoing investigations, he provided just enough detail to satisfy curiosity without compromising cases. His technique was deceptively simple: acknowledge the question's legitimacy, explain the legal constraints, offer alternative information that addressed the underlying concern. It was a dance, a carefully choreographed performance that left questioners feeling heard even when they didn't get the answers they wanted. Director Patel, did the FBI investigate Senator X's campaign finances? Congressman, I can't confirm or deny specific investigations. What I can tell you is that the FBI investigates financial crimes based on predicate evidence, regardless of political affiliation. We have opened cases involving members of both parties, and we've declined to open cases involving members of both parties. The standard is evidence, not politics. It wasn't a yes. It wasn't a no. It was a statement of principle that technically answered the question while revealing nothing actionable. This approach frustrated journalists and politicians alike, but it was effective. Patel couldn't be caught in contradictions because he rarely made specific factual claims about sensitive matters. He couldn't be accused of lying to Congress because he precisely followed the boundaries of what he could legally disclose. The resistance inside. But Patel's most significant challenge wasn't external. It was the resistance within the FBI itself. Career agents who had spent decades building the Bureau's reputation as an independent institution saw Patel as a political interloper. They leaked to the press. They slow-rolled his directives. They questioned his every decision in internal meetings. One senior official, a 28-year veteran of the Bureau, confronted Patel directly in a closed-door meeting. "You're destroying everything we've built. The FBI's independence, its credibility, its relationship with the intelligence community. All for what? To serve a president who will be gone in 4 years." Patel listened, then responded with unexpected candor. "You're right that I came here because of the president, but I'm not here to serve him. I'm here because the FBI lost its way. You talk about independence, but independence without accountability is just arrogance. You talk about credibility, but half the country doesn't believe a word we say. That's not my fault. That happened before I got here. And if we don't fix it, there won't be an FBI worth protecting." The room remained tense, but something shifted. Patel wasn't dismissing their concerns. He was challenging their assumptions. Could the FBI be both independent and accountable? Could it serve justice without serving politics? Could it regain public trust without compromising its mission? These weren't easy questions, and Patel didn't pretend to have all the answers. But he was asking the right questions, and that was more than his critics expected. Restructuring the machine. By spring 2025, Patel's structural reforms began taking shape. He reorganized the Bureau's leadership, creating regional autonomy that reduced Washington's control over field offices. He established new protocols for politically sensitive investigations, requiring multi-level approval before opening cases involving elected officials or candidates. He also launched the most comprehensive training program in FBI history, focused not on tactical skills, but on constitutional principles, civil liberties, and the proper use of investigative powers. Every agent, from new recruits to senior executives, would undergo this training. The message was clear. The FBI's power came with responsibility, and that responsibility had to be taken seriously. Perhaps most controversially, Patel opened dialogues with communities that had long viewed the FBI with suspicion. He met with civil liberties groups, Muslim American organizations, Black Lives Matter activists, and conservative legal scholars. These meetings were often contentious, sometimes hostile, but Patel insisted they were necessary. "If people don't trust us, they won't help us," he explained to skeptical agents. "And if they don't help us, we can't do our job. It's that simple. The moment everything changed. 6 months into Patel's tenure, a domestic terrorism plot shook the nation. Details remain classified, but what became public was dramatic enough. A coordinated attack planned against multiple government facilities, prevented only by FBI intervention based on intelligence gathered from within extremist online communities. The operation's success vindicated Patel's approach. By focusing on genuine threats rather than political investigations, by rebuilding relationships with communities, by emphasizing professional excellence over political loyalty, the FBI had done what it was supposed to do: protect Americans. The bipartisan praise was brief but significant. Even Patel's harshest critics acknowledged that this was the FBI they wanted to see. Focused, professional, effective, non-political. But Patel knew the moment wouldn't last. Trust wasn't rebuilt in a single victory. It was rebuilt through consistency, through thousands of small decisions, through years of choosing principle over expediency. The long game. As 2025 progressed, the questions about Kash Patel evolved. Was he Trump's loyalist or the FBI's defender? Was he dismantling the deep state or protecting institutional independence? Was he a revolutionary or a reformer? The answer, perhaps, was that he was all of these things and none of them. Patel was playing a longer game than his critics understood. He knew that Trump's presidency would end, that political winds would shift, that today's controversies would become tomorrow's footnotes. His goal wasn't to serve one administration or one political movement. It was to rebuild an institution that could survive them all, to create an FBI that Americans across the political spectrum could trust, not because it was perfect, but because it was accountable, transparent within legal limits, and committed to justice over politics. Whether he would succeed remained uncertain. The challenges were immense. The resistance was real. The political pressures were unrelenting. But Kash Patel had something his critics didn't expect: patience, principle, and a deep understanding that institutions aren't built in press conferences or congressional hearings. They're built in the quiet moments, the difficult decisions, the choices made when no one is watching. And in those moments, Kash Patel was rebuilding the FBI, one careful step at a time. The man who walked through those doors in January 2025, viewed with suspicion and skepticism, was now something more complex. A director who wouldn't be easily categorized, a leader who refused to play by Washington's usual rules, and perhaps most importantly, a student of history who understood that the FBI's legacy would be determined not by today's headlines, but by tomorrow's judgment. The story of Kash Patel and the FBI was far from over. In many ways, it had only just begun.